Hey there guys, so tomorrow we've got another Dark Visions opening on Global, but we've also got a bunch of other content like a new trial, some new EX stages. So I'm probably going to spend most of the day tomorrow working on that kind of stuff and come to Dark Visions a little bit later. So I figured real quick in this video I'd just show an updated team that you can use to pretty much OTK everything, perfect score all the way up to the final boss. And these kind of teams should even work on the final mage and physical stages. And I'll just show you an example of the final magical and final physical boss from the previous Dark Visions. You know, we can run these for practice, etc. So for the plant stage, we're going to be basically using Ayaka. The magical boss tomorrow, the final boss, is also weak to ice again, so Ayaka should very easily turn 1 OTK. So this is the classic team that I use for just magical OTKs these days. Even if it's off element, Ayaka will still perfect score, even if it's not weak to ice. But thankfully, it is weak to ice. So here's the classic setup. We're going to be using Scarlet or Flaring Rain as our leader because he does buff Ayaka. He's also going to do a Sword in Peril for us on turn 1. Yish is going to be a 160 Ice in Peril and an 89 Break. The reason we're using Dark Fina is because she has innate quad cast black magic, and she automatically buffs the party's stats by 250%. And she's going to be just a support chainer with Blazara. And then Ihana is here because, again, just a support chainer with Blazara. But she also has, what's it called? She also has preemptive Omni Killer, so she buffs to everything. But we also have a party slot empty that you can fill with whatever you want. Now, you could add another damage dealer or a better killer buffer. I'm going to go ahead and stick a better killer buffer just because this is a plant, so we're going to be using a plant killer. So here we go. So basically the gear on Fina is naked other than Blazara. You could also give her like the Ice Rod or an Esper for Blazara, but some way to chain Blazara, and she has quad black magic in her kit naturally on Global. And then Ihana, same thing, Irony's Ring and then Blazara. Again, you could give her that from an Esper as well. And then Ayaka with a sword build. You know, we're not using her STMR because we are going a sword build because of rain. Because, you know, turn 1 OTK, we don't have time to do a Rod in Peril. So, sword build, just, you know, high stats with range, leader skills, 17.2 magic. Here we go. And then I gave her a little bit of plant killer, but honestly, not that big a deal. And the rest of the party, basically just naked, who cares? And yeah, you can use this to OTK. So I think the boss tomorrow is a Reaper. So for the absolute best gear, or the absolute best setup, you're going to want to do like Rosa if you have her for Undead Killer. You can also use things like Yuna, whatever. So Yish will just go ahead and use her Crowned Break for the Imperil. Rain will do the Shifted LB. Creel will do a Plant Killer on Ayaka. Fina will quad black magic on Blazara. And again, Ihana just quad black magic on Blazara. And Ayaka does her finale skill. And that's pretty much it. We just, you know, chain it on turn 1. That'll also get the 100 count chain score, and that'll also give us the, hopefully the damage cap. So the damage cap on these final bosses is 4 billion, and we did 9.4 billion. We more than double overcapped on turn 1. So as you can see, this is a relatively strong team. And again, even if it's not an Ice Week boss, it'll still do more than 4 billion as long as your gear is good. So there it is, turn 1 perfect score. Now I will show you the physical version of a turn 1 perfect score by going to the other physical fight. So this one is Odin. It is a physical fight, weak to lightning and wind. So here is the core setup of our physical party. So we're going to be using Kaito to break with his LB as the first person clicked. 2B and Shizuru are going to be doing their LBs for Extreme Nova. That's going to be a 90-point chain. The leader of the party is Dwayne because he does buff 2B. And I could probably update this for like a pure Brave Exvius Scarlet Rain turn 1, but Scarlet Rain is locked to fire, whereas all these units are elementally flexible. So So I decided to make Dwayne the leader for my turn 1 OTK physical party. Anyway, Dwayne will be doing his Magnus. So 30, 30, 30 from Kaito, 2B, and Chizuru, and then 24 hits from Dwayne is our 100 count chain score on turn 1. Now, you might be noticing that's only going to be 4 out of the 6 weakness hits. So the last party slot is going to be someone to imbue and hit the boss twice more. So we're going to use, for this one, because it's weak to Thunder, we'll just use Ramu Sakura to knock in here and hit the boss twice with Thunder, as well as imbue the party. And Sylvie, by the way, is for stat buff, LB buff, and modifier buff. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so we're going to use Sylvie to just shift at LB. We're going to use Sakura to imbue the party with Thunder, and then double cast Burst. That'll also imperil the boss. Kaito will shift at LB, Chizuru shift at LB, 2B base form LB, and Dwayne will do his Atonement Magnus. And Dwayne, by the way, is using katanas. I know it's strange, I'll show you the gear in a second, but here we go. We'll go ahead and chain this up, and there it is. That should be our turn 1 perfect score. We need to do 4 billion for the damage cap here, and on turn 1 we did 10 billion, so 2.5 times more than we needed. And again, you can just, you know, use kind of, for the most part, whatever you want. We didn't even use a killer buffer, but etc, etc. So perfect score, and here's the breakdown. So this is not really carried by one unit, it's carried by the whole party. 2B is our 35 Katana Imperil, Chizuru is just high damage turn 1, and Dwayne is our leader. Also high damage turn 1, although because he's using katanas, his damage does suffer a bit. He can't use his STMR and all that. But I'll show you the team we used. So just someone to buff the elements. Sakura could have been naked, Sylvie could have been naked. Our leader, Dwayne, is using double katana build. So we're not using the STMR. You know, it does hurt his damage, etc., etc. But we're not using a sword and pearl on turn 1. So there we go. And you might be wondering, why don't I use his LB? Because his LB does the sword and peril as well. Honestly, outside of Clash of Wills, his limit burst is not that strong, so his Magnus is more damage. And we go katanas, you know, big deal. We lose his STMR. Anyway, some killers and whatever, and then, you know, we're using Rain's card because I did get it recently, and it is nice. If you don't have that, give him his own card. Kaito, honestly, whatever. It doesn't really matter. He's just here for something. His damage, he's the breaker and a support chainer. 2B in the base form is right here, so there we go. Just, you know, damage, LB damage, and she's high damage, 14.2 with our Dwayne leader. And then Chizuru, there it is again, 12.7, and we're using the cool smile card. Okay, and you can swap the killers and the elemental buffer depending on the fight. And that's just some quick tips for turn 1 OTK. And tomorrow, while I'm busy in the, you know, the Lightning trial and the new EX stages, you can use these two teams to OTK all the way to the final boss. And then if you want something from me for the final boss, a little bit later, you know, tomorrow night or this weekend, I'll have some final boss videos. But that team will get you a perfect score all the way until then. Okay, see you in a bit.